I first had my experience, which was in the spring of '95, one of the first books I found about these kind of things was, of course, Dannion's book, Saved by the Light. And when we started this organization in May 1998, I thought, it would be great to have him speak, but I never really thought of it really happening. So he called me about 6 months ago or whenever it was, and I knew, well, it's time. So unfortunately, we do not have Saved by the Light. I ordered a big box of them, and a big box came, and it was filled with To Catch an Heiress. So
Figures.
I think his publisher will be upset to know that, and we certainly are, because I know how many of you would like to have a copy of that book. We will, however, go ahead and order them again. So next month we should have them. They might not be autographed, but you can get him to give you an autograph today, and you can paste it in. Does that work? That works.
Give us extra stickers.
We have some wonderful books out there. I hope you'll do your Christmas shopping while you're here. And today, for the first time, we have DVDs of some of our previous meetings. Ones that people have been asking for, especially the two with Alan Botkin, who is also here today and can autograph his book. I have a copy of that here. If you missed the meeting last month, this is his book, and he's here and would be glad to sign them for you as well. They make great gifts. This is, in case you weren't here, absolutely front
Have you heard
page
of him? No.
news stuff that should be out there for everyone. This is how to talk to people and interact with people who are on the other side, basically. It's all about that, and it relieves grief. And it works because I did it, and I can vouch for that. And we also have, we have both of his on DVD. We have both of Howard Storm's visits to us on one CD. And the first time he came, we were a very new organization. Howard was our first speaker, and the quality of the video was very poor. But going back over it, I think it's such a wonderful video that I had the man who did this put both of them on one DVD. So that's available too. We're trying to show Cat. We have, I don't know, 19 different meetings on DVD. So I hope you'll stop there and look at the list and see if there's something that you need to have, because undoubtedly you do. They were wonderful. All of them are wonderful. We still have some more that we hope to get. So I wanted to mention, I was going to pick up a few more. I got carried away. This is one of my favorite books, Sylvia Browne's The Other Side and Back, and we still have a few copies of this left. If you have not read this, or if you know someone who should, it would make a wonderful gift. This is what the DVDs look like. We're very lucky to have a guy who's doing a really nice job for us. We did try one last night, and we tried several of them, but one of them had a little problem. We don't know whether it's the player or the DVD. If you have any trouble with them, please bring them back and we will replace them.
Always a problem.
So, as most of you know, we usually start our meetings with a brief meditation. People come in with their energy going every which way, and this place feels like a potato peeler or something. Things are going all kind of crazy. And when we take a moment and just center ourselves and reflect and pull inward, somehow or another, the energy smooths all out. I use the analogy of a plate of steel shavings, and you run a magnet under it, and all the pieces line up and go in the same direction. And it just is a much easier environment to be in. So, if you want to, you might want to sit up. If you have something on your lap, you might want to put it on the floor. Close your eyes. Just kind of pull yourself in. sharing, and I take the mic and I ask why you're here. We have many people who come to our meetings who have had near-death experiences. Many people have had out-of-body experiences. Some people have had just kind of weird experiences, I call other experiences. And some people have lost a loved one. A great many of our people actually who come have lost a loved one. And they're looking for answers about death and life and why we're here. And they find answers without question. To me, the sharing is my favorite part. I love to connect with the people and hear what they have to say. But some people can't deal with that and they come at intermission, and that's okay too. I don't have any problem with that. You need to come and get as much as you can from it. In any case, you're welcome to be here, and we're very glad you're here, whatever your reason. I should mention, some people just come because they're curious, and that's perfectly okay too. But today, we thought, because Dannion's mission has so much to do with hospice, that we would really focus on the hospice experience. If anyone has had an experience, often you'll know that often you come back with this very strong sense of mission or a need to do something or to do service or to help other people. And one of the very best ways to do that, I found, was through hospice. When I came back, I thought, well, I want to still be with that light. I want to still be connected. And the closest I could figure out, the closest places here on earth are with the souls just coming in and the souls just going out. So I had spent most of my life teaching children music lessons and so on and so forth, and I had several of my own. So I thought it would be more interesting to do the other, and also more immediate, because you can actually talk to people who are leaving and often have some wonderful conversations and very meaningful experiences. So we have invited today a representative of the Midwest Palliative and Hospice Care Center, Hospice and Palliative Care Center, I think that's the order, and also a representative from Compassion in Action, the area, what's your title? The chapter president from this area. Compassion in Action is Dannion. This is Danny. Dannion's, that is Dannion's organization that he started and now has over how many thousand, Dannion?
Almost 6,000.
Almost 6,000 volunteers in Compassion in Action today. So first I want to ask our representative from our most local group, the Midwest group, to speak. Our speaker will be Dr. Robert Magrisso, who is on staff here at Evanston Hospital. He is a near-death experiencer himself. He spoke to the medical grand rounds and went from 0 to a standing ovation, which I think is a very laudable, significant achievement. And he's also a wonderful artist as well. So let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Robert Magrisso.
Nice to see you. Wow, what a group. I'm here basically to speak a little bit about hospice and palliative care and the Midwest Palliative Care Center, which you may know as Hospice of the North Shore. It's gone through a few names as it has expanded. The Palliative Care Center has been it's one of the oldest in this area. It was founded in 1978. It's community-based, it's nonprofit. It has maintained an independence from corporate institutions that have wanted to buy it, essentially. And it maintains a very high standard. Recently, we had a new building that was built, and the president of the hospice organization came and said that there was probably 5 hospices in the whole United States that could do what this hospice and palliative care center has been doing. Right now provides a continuum of services that include consultations, includes home care, includes hospice in the home setting, hospice in an inpatient setting, which is essentially a compassionate intensive care unit, where the level of care for dying patients is, in my experience, unequal. There's a pediatric section, there's a large bereavement services, there's a kids camp, there's actually a camp for the siblings and children of patients who have died, where they can go for bereavement and so forth. I could go on, and I'm not even the right person to be doing this, but I've worked for about 5 or 7 years in this organization, and my respect and admiration just grows as much as I've worked there. I do palliative care consultations in the hospital and work in the inpatient unit with dying patients, and have worked in the home setting supervising teams. At the heart of the organization, though, is the volunteer, and that's really what I'm here for. The volunteer, I think, provides the a kind of level of humanity that sometimes even the best professional organizations can lose. And the palliative care center really relies on the volunteer in many settings. And I can't imagine a better group for me to be looking for volunteers. There are about 300 volunteers, about half of which are active. About half of those work with patients directly, and about half of them work in administrative tasks, not directly with patients. All the effort is needed. I mean, to make this organization work, the volunteer is a necessary part. Anyone who is interested, we're going to have some sign-out sheets. I brought 400 brochures that kind of give you, and they'll have telephone numbers. There is a 10-week training program. There's a lot of training. There's training with active listening. There's training. One doesn't just go into this without some background and some help in doing it well. I think that's what I'm going to say. Is there any questions?
That's a good question. Will you be here the whole time?
I will work in.
Ann, you want to stand up? Ann Roster? She's also from the hospice. I keep wanting to say hospice on the North Shore because that's what it was when I went through the training. But she will also be glad to answer questions. You don't have to become a hospice volunteer if you put your name on there. It just means that they might send you some additional information and be more available and sensitive to your particular needs.
Is that just for the progression action training?
That's for the, this is for the Midwest. Sign them both, he says. The ones that are circulating now are from Midwest, and we will have them out on a table after the meeting, so that after Dannion finishes, if you fail to sign up now, you can sign up then. You'll leave no stone unturned in that regard. The training itself, I can tell you, is just absolutely worth the price of admission. Even if you do not become a hospice volunteer for whatever reason, just taking that training opens your eyes to so many things that you've never thought about. They give you questions to answer, and they talk with you, and you have various speakers who come and tell you about the death process and so on and so forth. You learn so much, and you'll learn so much about yourself. There's not a person in this room who's going to get alive out of this life. You've got to go through the process at some point, and it's very, very freeing to have a better idea of what death is all about. If you've lost loved ones, you might already be introduced to some of that. But whether you have or not, you will learn an enormous amount through the training. And it's such an enormous gift to be with people as they die. I can't even begin to tell you. He'll do much better. He's a good talker. But I hope that you'll open your heart to this and give it a chance in your own lives. Now we also have with us Keith Jacob, who I've known for quite a few years. We run into things, and he's the director of the Compassion Action.
Hello, everybody. I won't take up too much of your time because I want to hear Dannion too. I was thinking, I'm not a near-death survivor. I'm a near-death survivor. Who've ever been with this guy anywhere? You know what I'm talking about. So, some of you may have heard before Compassion in Action. Now, recently, over the past few years, that's become the Twilight Brigade Compassion in Action. We were actually sued over the word compassion. I don't quite understand it yet, but that's what happened. So, locally, you've heard the number 6,000 volunteers. We've had over 600 trainees locally in Chicago over the past 7 years. So I think we've done a little over 40 trainings. Now, recently we haven't had so much activity. I think we need a little bit of resuscitation. It's a volunteer. We're totally 100% volunteer based. So we could use anybody here that has some time or some skills, desires to help Dannion's cause out, because we are one of his right arms that's out there, and I think it was put well. Take what you know about this subject. If you're here and you can talk about this, then you're the perfect sort of person that can come help out in hospice. Our organization trains people to be hospice volunteers, but we also train people that are caregivers. I know somebody personally in our family that for years was just on the edge, and her dad kept kind of getting worse with the cancer. She finally went and did the training, and she thanked us so much, because those last months she had, it was the difference of night and day, the relationship and how she could meet her father every day. So that's what we're about. I think this organization, it's great to see it growing from the little church in Evanston. Now we're here, so I think this is very nice to see too. So I just hope that you can take this message to your heart, especially in the holiday season. We need people to take this and do something with it. If you don't put your feet on the ground and get up and do something with it, it just sits idle, and then I think we lose the magic of it. So thank you again.
Kind of the difference between the two, in case you were wondering, the Midwest Hospice and Palliative Care Center is located actually here in Evanston and Glenview now with the new office, and they have an inpatient unit at Rush over here nearby, and they do service a very large area, not just the Evanston area. They service across the whole greater Chicago area, but the center of it is really pretty much located here. Compassion in Action isn't associated with a particular unit. They train people to be with people who are dying, and the people who graduate from their program and their training can go into any hospice setting. You could maybe answer a question that probably will come up. If you take the Compassion in Action training and you go into, for example, then you want to go into the Midwest Hospice, how is that handled? Do you have to go through the whole 9-week training? You do.
It would be up to each hospice.
Each hospice is different.
There have been some hospices in the Chicago area. Once they've gotten to know our people, they've then taken them in and just given them general orientations. But it's always up to each hospice. Twilight Brigade is not a hospice, and so we're training you as a volunteer, and then we help you find the hospices, because you're working for the hospices.
Okay, did everybody hear that? He said that they train you for the hospices, but they are not a hospice in themselves at Compassion in Action. But I think, as Dannion said in the beginning, sign up for both if you have any interest in this, and you will get just double joy, double.
Midwest Palliative and Hospice Care Center have many volunteers who have done the Compassion in Action.
Right.
So
It's a really good fit. The training is outstanding with Compassion in Action. I have several friends who've done it. Our orientation is about hospice, but it's also about the greater span of services, and so we use the training also so that people are ambassadors in the community about the whole spectrum of services. So our organization does require that training. It's 6 weeks, and it's really a well worthwhile. But the two of them together are unbeatable.
Great, thank you, Ann. That's what I wanted to ask. Does anybody else have a question comes to mind about this? Okay,
Right, and I'll also be here all day, so.
Keith will also be here. You have a question?
No, actually, I'm a graduate.
I'm a graduate of a Compassion in Action weekend in Action.
Yay!
Yeah, thank you, and volunteered with the organization for a year afterward, and I'm also a hospice volunteer with Heartland Hospice, and I have great regard for the hospice of the North Shore. What one gets from a Compassion in Action training also has a lot to do with how your own feelings about end of life. And I think that we don't get enough exposure to experience our own feelings with it. And that's why it's such a good combination with the hospice training program. It goes way beyond it. You know, open us up into accept.
I know I was blown away when I took the Hospice of the North Shore training initially. I just was so amazed. I just wanted to go out and yell to everybody, "Hey, you've got to do this, you've got to do this." And when they started the Compassion in Action training, I was there for the first one. I didn't get to complete the whole thing because it was on a weekend that I had another obligation that I couldn't ignore. So, but combined with what I did receive from that and the other one, I feel like I've had a pretty good education in it. And it's a really wonderful feeling, a great thing to do. Do you have a sign-up sheet too? It's in the back, on the table in the back. It'll be out in back. Okay, great. So we're going to get to break early because we want to move it quickly so we get more of Dannion's thoughts. Usually at this point, after we've gone around the room and shared some information, people, they connect with other people. So somebody will say something over here and somebody will say, "Oh my gosh, I need to talk to that person." And then we break and you have a chance to go out and eat and socialize. And that's the hardest time to get people back in because nobody wants to stop socializing. And I say, you know, you're welcome to bring food back in here as long as you pick up your mess and clean up after yourself. I am the worst custodian. I do not do it kindly or well. I grumble and I get very upset. So I don't want to have to do that. So if you want to bring it in, that's okay, but please take it out when you leave so that I don't have to do the janitor. Anyway, please go help yourself to good things to eat. Buy a lot of books and DVDs. And Danny will be doing the session with the result of the raffle, which we're going to do now. People who were here by 2 o'clock, or by the time the meeting started, basically, had an opportunity to put their name in the basket for a free one-on-one session with Dannion during the break. Whatever is needed there, 15, 20 minutes. Who wants to do the honors? Keith, maybe you're going to find out that lucky person.
Michelle Flagg.
Michelle Flagg. You get this free session. So I think can we leave you in here, Dannion, with her? Is she safe? Yes! Great. Okay, so everybody else go out.
About this hospice training program business, okay? I believe that Compassion in Action, the Twilight Brigade, is a primer. Because a lot of people think they can't deal with these kinds of subject matter. But we're a primer. And what these people are doing is a necessity. And to be able to stay free from corporate power is the greatest offer that the volunteer can bring. Because then it's about humanity. It's not about the bottom line. But as you guys take a break and you think about the search for spiritual understanding, I want to give you a couple of demographics. If you are 37 years old and you live in the United States of America and you have a family member anywhere in the world, you have an 81% chance that that family member will turn to you in case of a catastrophic illness or a terminal disease before they'll turn to a doctor or before they'll turn to clergy. If you are 37 years old and you live in the United States of America and you have a friend anywhere in the world, you have a 60% chance that that friend will turn to you in case of a traumatic illness or a terminal disease before they'll turn to a doctor or clergy. And if you're 37 years old and you live in the United or older and you live in the United States of America, you have a 100% chance you're going to turn to you. Now, if you're in Las Vegas instead of Chicago, and you had an 81, 60, and 100% chance of something occurring, are you ready? Would you roll the dice? Yes. Then are you ready? When you start talking about who you love and who loves you, this training, the combination of what we are as caregivers and what the hospice program is, prepares you for something that is 81, 60, and 100% chance of occurring in your life about the value of your love. You have to be insane not to get ready, not to prepare. I was pitching a sci-fi television show to a 26-year-old little punk. And you know, I'm an old man, so I don't fit the demographic, 18 to 49, because I'm like 600. And to give you a point of reference, the guy said, he said, well, I don't think what you're trying to talk about, come to think of it, I've never had anybody come in here and talk to me about death as a show. And he said, I don't think it'll fit in the demographic that we're trying to explore. Well, let me ask you something crazy. You already told me when you're going to take the show, so what I care. What's he going to do, kill me? I said, let me ask you something crazy. How many people do you think in this building? How many people do you think work in this building? He said, well, there's about 2,200 of them. I said, well, how many people in this building you think is not going to die? I said, pretty good demographic, huh? So remember, when you take this break and you get ready to come back, open up your heart, everybody. So put your damn name on the pieces of paper. Sign up and at least open your heart. You don't have to listen to them. They're just going to email you something or send you a little piece of propaganda. Sign up and open your heart. Until you make that step forward, you never know the greatness that's in you to be able to help someone, or that there's somebody in this room that you will meet again, either looking up from that bed or looking down from that room. You never know. And sooner or later, the 100% chance is going to come. And the better you're prepared, the better you can act. Put your name on the list. Don't be afraid. I don't see fangs. They're not asking you for money. They're asking you for your time. The same as us. because I want to help you be able to help who you love and who loved you. And this is the art form necessary to do it. So as you go outside and you socialize and you eat, drink, be merry, and purchase your Christmas gifts, let your heart be conscious of opening. Let every breath you breathe, let everything you touch, let every word you say be encouraging, be thought-provoking, be hope, be gracious, be kind. Because if we live this way, and we think consciously that we have gratitude, and we express that gratitude in helping someone who has nothing to give you back but their love and their gratitude, you will grow as a spiritual being. You may have a little trouble with the physical and mental in some of the situations, but you will grow as a spiritual being. And if that's not what you want to do, then don't put your name on the piece of paper. But I'm going to check you off when you leave.
Thanks, Dannion. I'm going to get it better myself. Okay, go enjoy. Don't forget to take your trash out. And Alan, will you stand up back and wave? This is Alan Lockton, if you want to...
What's that, Gary? What I hope you get from this program today. Number one, that God has a sense of humor. And that God moves in strange and mysterious ways. Number two, that nobody's going to hell. I hate to tell you this, folks. The two things are not going to occur. You will not die, and you will not go to hell. Now, you think of how much... I didn't say there wasn't varying degrees of heaven.
Yeah, right. Damn it.
But if you think of all the money you paid to the insurance guys, and how much you've worried about the minister telling you these stories, it might make you a little angry. Let me give you a little bit of my background. I grew up in South Carolina. Everybody goes to hell where I come from. Everybody. Down south, they always say, do you know how you can tell the difference between a Baptist and a Methodist? A Methodist will speak to you in the liquor store. So when you start to think about a near-deather growing up in South Carolina,
Oh, this death.
everybody goes to hell. When I was a kid, they didn't have Ridley. It's a kid from ADD or ADHD kid. They didn't have Ritalin when I was a kid, so they kept me occupied by sending me to church programs. So now think about a kid growing up in the South, trying to understand religion. You go to the church, the preacher's there, I'm about 8 years old, I'm sitting there and he's going, "Go! Jesus, go! Go, Jesus! Please come and save these savage heathens! And Lord, let me scare them enough to get enough money for a new Rolex on me." I'm sitting there watching that, okay? And the first thing I realized as a young child of who invented fundamentalism. It was the guy who had the patent on preparation H. You know how much of that stuff got sold on Monday morning? At a after an afternoon in the South with that preacher and that kind of strain. So here is my background to talk to you about death experience. So when I'm about 13 and they didn't have Ritalin, they sent me over to the RAs, which was called the Royal Ambassador Intensive Program for Children, which means they get you in, they start telling you that you were born in sin, and that the earth was invented in 4741, it was only 6,000 years old, and we were all sinners, and we were all going to hell if we didn't accept Jesus. Okay, well, I listened to that. And, you know, they pound it in you like going to a boot camp all day long. Well, here's what my problem was, religiously and spiritually. The week before I started this intensive program, I had gone to the Natural Museum of History on a bus tour. And when you walked in the front door of the Natural Museum of History, it had this dinosaur called a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Here's his bones, his little teeth, his big head, his claws, and it says, became extinct 96 million years ago during the Paleolithic period. Well, all I could figure was that Satan had to be, and I asked him, I said, what in the world was a dinosaur if the world was only 6,000 years old? He said that was the work of the devil to deceive us into believing that the world was older. And I decided I'd figured out that who Satan really was. Steven Spielberg. Making all those movies. So here I am in my religious fervor beginning to believe that if I didn't believe this stuff, they were never going to let me out. Well, here's where I got into trouble, everybody. They started telling me this story about Adam and Eve. You know, I'm 14. It's springtime. The sap's rising. And the more they talked about Adam and Eve, the better I liked Eve. I mean, I kept an apple with me for 10 years. Looking for Eve. And then they told me I was guilty of what they did in the desert 6,000 years ago. Man, I had enough suspensions from school to be guilty of enough stuff. How in the world could I be guilty of what Adam and Eve were doing in the desert 20,000 miles from Aiken, South Carolina? Whoa, wait a minute. You're stretching me here. Think about it. Now, if it was Pamela Anderson, I might be guilty because I saw part of that video. But I didn't see no pictures, I didn't see a video, I didn't see anything. So here I am, going to hell no matter what. I'm 11. By the time I was 14 and me and Eve, I was looking desperately for her. And look at the mindset that you have. Look at our mindsets, everybody. What we believe and what we're taught to believe and what's supposed to be real and what's not supposed to be real. What is real? Well, I played sports because how I got attention was I could knock the fire out of it. I am 6'4". I weigh 248 pounds. And I can put something on your old Roberts can't get off of. And then I discovered the United States Marine Corps. Where when you killed somebody, they gave you an award. I was home free. I had discovered sinning as an art form called patriotism. I not only was going to have to worry about going to hell, I was going to invent hell for everybody else I knew. And I spent from 19 years old to 25 years old working in various programs developed by our country in what we call proxy wars. the underbelly. So by the time I was 25 years old, I had seen the world. I had been in 4 conflicts, and I understood what combat was, one-on-one. Them against me or me against them. And my life was set. Now, does God have a sense of humor? I'm home 4 days. I'm talking on the telephone. Having a good time. A bolt of lightning comes down the phone line. It hits me in the side of the head. I'm sitting like this. Talking. It hits me here. It runs down my spine. It welds the nails in the heels of my shoes to the nails in the floor. It throws me in the air. It suspends me in the air. It slams me back down on the bed. I'm burning. I'm on fire. What came from that is I was dead for 28 minutes. I was completely paralyzed for 6 days, partially paralyzed for 7 months. It took me 2 years to learn to walk and feed myself, and I lost 54 pounds. I could probably use it again right now, but I don't think electrocution is the best diet. 2 years to learn to walk and feed myself. People say, Dannion, that's amazing. Wow, you're so special. How special could I be? God called me on the telephone. And the only burning bush I saw was me. But in the course of this lightning, in the course of never heard of the near-death experience. Raymond Moody hadn't named it in 1975. He just worked in the hospital where they took it. That's how I began to be Dannion Brinkley, you know, the ultimate dead guy. Because I came with Raymond along with this movement for the last 30 years. I had it when it didn't have a name. I helped define a lot of the parameters that you now accept as what's called the near-death experience. I was the person who would be interviewed by Raymond, Bruce Grayson, Ken Ring, Michael Sabon, Melvin Morris, Ian Stevenson, all the names that began to develop this program. I was there doing the translating. Let me tell you what's going to happen. And you probably heard it a many a day here. Let me tell you something. The moment that lightning got me, I was burning and on fire, and I could not move. I didn't know what had happened. So I'm thinking combat. I'm trying to move. I'm trying to get my weapon. I'm trying to get myself against the wall. I didn't know whether it was incoming. You know, your mind works that way. My wife is down the hall. I'm trying to protect her because I knew she would be next. And I could not move. And the fear of not being able to protect her and not being able to move was more than I could handle. And all of a sudden, I'm out of my body. All of a sudden, I float above myself in this blue-gray place. And I looked down and saw myself lying on the bed. Well, let me tell you what the first thing you're going to do when your time comes. The very first thing you're going to do when you look down in your body is you swear you will never drink with God again. Because the first thing you look at that body and you say, how in the world did somebody trick me into getting into that stupid thing to start with? You had to be plenty drunk that day. And God had to slip you a Mickey to have gone you into getting in that lava crap to start with. My God, what was I thinking? Look at that thing. God, and I've been carrying that dumpy thing around for 25 years? What was I thinking? That's the first thing you're going to think. The next thing you're going to think is, why am I free? Why do I feel good? Why is there no pain? Why is it comfortable? And why do I know this place so well? Why does it feel safe? And why am I comfortable? Because you have begun to reunite with all that you are. Lesson number one. No matter where you are, and no matter where you go, and no matter what you think, you are a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being. You have dignity, you have direction, and you have purpose. And you have had it before you came here, you will have it while you're here, and you will have it when you leave here. And if you think anything else other than that, then you're stupid. You are a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being. You have dignity, you have direction, and you have purpose. You're hanging out, watching. I'm watching everything that's going on. It was interesting. I didn't know I was dead. I didn't even get a curious point to think I was dead until I could see my wife and Tommy, the guy on the other end of the phone, coming over to help. He came running over because he heard the explosion. I knew it was him that was supposed to get. Instead of me. I was having a little off day that day. She got her nails done, or, you know, whatever God does in days when they have an off day. And I was watching them. What was always so curious to me is I could see through them. I could see through them. And their physical body was not near as important as this light body, this body of color, these bodies of energetic movement, of brilliant, beautiful colors and pastels with an intensity that captivated you. You know, it was so beautiful. And when Tommy would say something to San, his energy would move into hers. And I knew it was emotion. And then her energy would move into his. And it would combine to be the most beautiful thing in the world. And I knew Sandy was always beautiful, but I never knew how beautiful she was until I was dead. And I'm watching this. And you know, it bugged me for years and years. How come this thing appears to be real? Well, it wasn't a spiritual revelation that taught me the answer. It was theoretical quantum mechanics. Now think of this. What's real? The basic core structure of the universe is atoms. Everybody knows an atom is the core structure of the universe. An atom is 94.6% empty space. So no matter what you think, physical reality will never be more than 5% of your existence. That's why I could see through them. Science gave me proof of what I saw at death more than any other research paradigm protocol, more than some philosopher, more than some doctor, but science. Science, the things that brings us the DVD, the CD, the cell phone. You know that the cell phone is based on a theoretical mechanical concept called the multi-universe theory? And every time that cell phone cuts on and works, you are verifying the fact that you're living in more than one dimension? That's where the cell phone comes from. That's where the DVD comes from, the CD comes from, the PC comes from, that you are multi-dimensional realities and you can operate in these realities. On the head of a pen, you can put a gamma ray, an X-ray, infrared, microwave, and a light wave, all occupying the exact same space at the exact same time. Now guess what? That's possible, and you can see it in an electron microscope. You can go to any computer company, and they can show it to you. So what's real? You're real. The spiritual side of you is reality. The near-death experience came about because medicine created cardiopulmonary resuscitation. they keep bringing us back. So it's their fault. Think about it. Who's to blame because people get up from the dead? Science is. Ah! So as I floated in this blue-gray place, I thought I was the only person there. The next thing is I hear these series of chimes. But what I was doing is I started hearing these chimes, I began to lighten. I began to be light than anything else. And I looked down, and this plant that my wife had, in those days they were called tie plants. You get this little stalk of wood, you stick it in the ground, and it grows into a plant. And she didn't have a green thumb, she had a black thumb. Nothing lived if she did it. Well, this stupid tie plant grew. And every time, need some help, Shug? I don't know if I'm gonna mess with that electricity. I think I'll let Keith do that.
Okay, now.
You learn a lot of cool stuff when you've been dead as many times as I've been dead. No, we just on the first one. So as these chimes began to ring, I looked around the room after seeing the beautiful energy of Tommy and Sandy. This tie plant, who I hated, because every time I'd come down the hall, I'd break a leaf off of it, and I'd have to try to glue the damn thing back on. You know, anything to keep her from catching me. I've turned that plant around so many times. And I looked at this plant. This plant had the same kind of energy around it that they had. And it was reacting to them reacting to me. It was alive, it was conscious, and it was paying attention. Well, I figured I still didn't like it very much. But it was interesting what it was doing. And then I began to appreciate. Now here I'm dead. And I began to appreciate the fact that everything has life. And it's a part of me, and I'm a part of it. And it's reacting to me, whether I'm reacting to it or not. And it is feeling my reaction. And then this guy who invented the lie detector, who worked for the CIA and the FBI, did this bunch of studies where he'd hook a plant to a lie detector, because he had one in his office, and he would study when you'd light a fire near it, and it would react and be red. This guy wrote a book called The Secret Life of Plants. And he invented what now is the lie detector. And he studied this. I didn't know it then. But you know, you find some really interesting stuff when you're dead. You will be more curious when you're dead than you've ever been when you're alive. Because I got a revelation for you. You are now this thing you call life, this is a near-death experience. I didn't have a near-death experience, I had a near-life experience.
Right.
I was almost alive again. You are as dead as you're ever going to get. Get used to it. You know what that says about forever? Forever's not near as long as you think it is. It's a whole lot longer. You're going to be you forever. So you better listen to me what I'm trying to tell you, you know what I mean? Because I can help you give you some shortcuts and some pointers in it. And as they loaded me in this ambulance, I figured I better go along with it. You know, I've been with this boy about 25 years. Wherever they was taking him, I was going, I guess. And I'm in the ambulance. And I remember the guy saying, "He's gone. He's gone." I thought to myself, gone where? I'm here. You're here, the driver's here, and that lump's here. Going where? And I looked over his shoulder, and the last thing I thought was, whoa, Dan, I always thought I was a much better looking guy than that. These are true stories, everybody. I mean, you know what? All of us are comedians. We are powerful spiritual beings, but we're playful. We're childlike because we live and dwell in magnificence. And whatever's robbed that from you, you let it go today. Because if you watch me, and you feel me, not just listen, but feel me. I've been through 3 near-death experiences. You're just hearing the first one. I've been struck by lightning twice. I had open heart surgery and brain surgery. The open heart surgery, they gave me the lightning strike the first time, no chance to survive. None. The second lightning strike only knocked me unconscious for 45 minutes. Hey, Dan, you didn't get it the first time. See what kind of sense of humor God's got? We're going to kill you again. Oh! Heart surgery, 9 months to live. Brain surgery, 8% chance to survive. I've been through 3 of these with no chance to survive. So listen to me and feel my relationship with the other side. See if you feel or sense fear, apprehension, anxiety, fright. See if you can feel it. And then add this to it. After these experiences, I've been a hospice volunteer for 27 years. I have $18,000 at the bedside, and I've been with 355 people taking their last breaths on this earth. The last one was last Monday. And I've been around more than 2,000 people within days and hours of their passage from this world to the next. Now, does that sound like I'm afraid of death? Or does that sound like someone who has experienced it and embraces it? So what you're drawing from is 3 near-death experiences, 55 years, $18,000. I've died with more veterans than any American in the history of this country. I've been at the bedside holding them in their last days and minutes more than anybody else who's ever lived in this country, in honor of what they've done to empower me to grow in this country. It's not cosmic, it's real. There is a life after death. I'm giving you pointers in how to prepare, get ready, and be cool. Not whether it may be or may not be. It is. And if you don't think there's a life after death, then you're crazy. Because there is. And the pointers I'm giving you are based on this. I can get up from the dead. Against no chance. The theories I'm postulating and the concepts I'm delivering you today have allowed me to raise myself from the dead 3 times. Now, I don't know about your theories, but if any time you want to road test one of yours against mine, just lick your tongue. Or the success. So when I looked and saw this, and I heard these chimes, this tunnel forms. And I start moving down this tunnel. And it's like peeling away like an onion. Layers of garbage. You know, like scrubbing after playing in mud. It's like washing that off. And then you come into this place of this bright, brilliant, beautiful light. You know, beautiful. It's so resonant, it's so wondrous. And then, like many people, you are met by our loved ones. Now, to let you know what kind of person I am, I've been over there 3 times and ain't nobody come to meet me. So you kind of get an idea how this personality transposes itself over there too. Let me tell you something. Everything you've ever loved, that's ever loved you is going to be there to meet you. All your friends, your parents, your grandmother, your grandparents, your grandfather, your birds, your cats, your dogs, and think about a dairy farmer from Nebraska when he gets older. All them cows. Glad you're back. Glad you're back. Everybody's going to be over there. Everybody comes to celebrate. This lady asked me one time, she says, Dannion, she says, what happens when people get over there? And let's say it was a hurricane that killed, or that tsunami that killed 10,000 or 100,000 people. What do they do over there then? I said, hell, it's like Mardi Gras. They don't care how you got back. They just glad you home. Gives them a reason to have a party. Everybody likes somebody coming home. And then you meet this being of light, everybody. This radiantly beautiful being of light. Now, I know a lot of people tell you it's God and Jesus and Buddha, Muhammad and Allah and Krishna and all these names. I'm going to tell you who that being is. That being is you. You are that being of light. This is a simple aspect of you. A simple aspect. It is not you. Now, when you start talking about a physical existence, an atom is 94.6% empty space. Physical reality will never be more than 5%. And think of this, physical reality. The whole basis of science today is based on this premise. None of this is here. Ask any scientist dealing in anything to do with space travel, computers, physical reality is not here. It is empty space with a bunch of movement that appears to be this. This is science of today, everybody. And every time you dial a cell phone, think about it. You think that cell phone, when you press that button, goes around your head? In Chicago, on any given day, you have 80,000 phone calls passing through you. You can measure them coming in, and you can measure them coming out. 80,000 cell phone calls pass through you every day in the city of Chicago. You can measure them coming in, and you can measure them coming out. How real are you? You're as real as the love you give. You're as real as the hope you inspire. You're as real as the graciousness and gratitude that you are for opportunities to love, hope, and dream. That's as real as you are. The rest of this is an illusion. Think of this. Your brain, 75% water. That explains a lot of our problems. Your skin, your largest organ, 74% water. Your liver, 95% water. Your teeth, 28% water. Your bones, 23% water. You are 74% water. So if you think about 5% of the physical reality that you occupy as atoms, you are basically a water treatment plant. Now, how real is that? How real is it? It's not. That being that you meet is you. Now, I'm going to tell you 2 stories to let you understand what it's like over there. You know, you hear this story of the oneness, we're all part of the one. You know, we all a big blob, and, you know, we all go back into the Matrix, Neo. Okay? Well, think of this. When we were kids, there's 2 ways you look at it. When we were kids, people in my age group, when you go down to the beach, or you go to the amusement park, they have these things called Nickelodeons. You walk up to them and you put your face in and you put a nickel in and you start turning the handle. And it's just a bunch of pictures. But you could be Flash Gordon. You could be Buck Rogers. You could be Hopalong Cassidy. You could kill the Indians. You could fight Zorka, the Greek, or what Zorka, the guy with the laser gun. And you just keep turning. And when you can turn it really fast, or you can turn it slow. And it still look like reality. Then when the thing would run out, the light would go out and it'd be dark. Then you put another nickel in, go to the next one, and you could be an Indian chief. You could go through all that whole row. So when you're sitting here, think about the near-death experience. You're just sitting there running, you're watching, and then it became a piece of film. You just put the nickel in, it was a dime then, and you just watched it. And for a moment of brief, you could live and be a part of that reality. So if you want to know what death is when you run out of nickels. Because what happens when the light goes out and it gets dark? You just stand up and you're still at the beach. That's all death is. Another focus on death. Let's say you're a chemist and you're working on deadly toxins. Well, you walk up, they got this little glass booth. You walk up and you stick your hands in it, you work all day pouring chemicals. That's your world inside that glass booth. Mixing and pouring, and you got these rubber gloves on. But what happens when you get off of work? You pull your hands out. That's where you are now. You never left heaven. You hadn't gone anywhere. And if you look at an atom, 94.6% of you is called dark matter in science. It's the same space that holds the universe together, and any scientific publication says they can measure it. Excitonanospheres is what it's called. They have a name for love, an excitonanosphere. It's measured. It exists now. All that other stuff is qualified now. You are still in heaven. You have focused your attention in this particular space at this particular time. Why? Because you can prick it and it will hurt. I know it's a terrible concept. I know it's kind of hard to grasp, but wait till you're dead. You'll get it then. I've studied this. Remember the first time I was struck by lightning, I had no choice. No one asked me, and I used to be so mad because people could listen and walk away. Where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? Nowhere. Where could I rationalize? Got no place. And then let it happen to you 2 more times. Nowhere to go. I have to believe what I know to be true. You're lucky. You can hope it's true, have faith it's true, believe it's true, or hope it's not. It's not going to change one thing. You will lift out of your body. You will look around. No one misses their funeral. Spiritual beings are gossipers, you know. They like to hear the good stuff. You know, we are playful. We are playful. I have seen us, and none of you are better than me. So I've seen you too. And in $18,000 at the bedside in the last 27 years, what do you think I don't know about death? Tell me. I'm the best dyer there is in the world. I die with style, I get up from the dead with style, and I help people pass from this world to the next as a part of my everyday life. I didn't just have this experience and went off talking, telling stories about it. The only reason I do this is I fund compassion in action. I sell books to fund compassion in action. Because I believe that if you had had this experience, you would be here trying to help me. Because I got moms and dads and brothers and sisters and friends that are dying scared to death. And what I know helps them because they can see it and feel it. I'm telling you the truth. And once you give me the benefit of the doubt and you look at the history of it, and I built Compassion in Action with Keith and a few good friends. But we are one of the largest end-of-life care volunteer programs in American history, and we are based on the fact that there's a life after death. I don't care how you perceive it to be. All I want to do is what I stand for, be a verifying point that there is one. That's all I care about, because then you don't limit yourself to just this life. You limit yourself to the endless opportunities this life affords you to put love, hope, appreciation, and gratitude into play. These are the keys. So once I reunited with this being, I moved with this being because I'm back being me. And I've started to lose the Dannion psychological concept of my personality, and I started to become something even greater than that, what I now say is a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being with dignity, direction, and purpose. And then we began to move. We crossed these expanses of what is frequencies, you know, different. You can hear the sounds as you changed levels. And the colors, if you think you've seen color over here, wait till you get over there. Colors we have never seen. Colors so beautiful. I mean, you know how when you get caught by a flower, you walk past a flower, and just the sheer shape of the flower, and the beauty like in a tropical garden, and even those of us who don't give a crap about flowers have to stop and look at that flower because of its composition and its color and its tones. Well, wait till you get over there. You will see so much stuff, so many colors and so much frequency, and everything has a sound to it. Everything has a harmony to it. And you are a part of it, and it's a part of you. I remember looking down at my hand. This was really cool. I never looked at my feet because I never walked anywhere. I just kind of moved along with what was going on because the feeling, you know, when you feel like helping a child up, when you feel like taking and helping an elderly person walk up or down steps, this feeling is what moves you everywhere you are over there. It's a feeling of kindness. It's a feeling of purpose. It's a feeling of appreciation. And it comes with the deal. It's the way a spiritual being functions, thinks, and operates. But I would look at my hand. When I would focus on it, it would become a hand. It would come in. It was shimmering. It was silver. It had what looks like color reflected off of it like you do on a prism. Okay? But when I let go and quit focusing, it would blend into everything else. It would just disappear, and it would become a part of everything else that was there. So when you focus too intently on something, you're blocking the flow of connecting to yourself. You contemplate, don't concentrate. You meditate. You don't analyze. You dwell. And you do it no matter what or where you are, because 94.6% of you is already there and connected anyway. So once I started to move, here's what happens next. You know, you try to find things in the Bible to relate to the reality of what you go through. Okay? Well, think of this. The great book of judgment. The Akashic records. All things are written. Now, until we had computers, that was a lot of writing, you know what I mean? But is that place there? Yep, it's there. How does it work? Once you reconnect to your spiritual self, once you reconnect, you will relax. You'll feel all a bunch of childlike emotions, the way a child does. And then you'll begin to perceive. And then you will begin to think. And then you will have a holographic 360-degree panoramic life review. You will see everything that ever happened in your life. You know how many hairs was in the nose of the doctor who pulled you out of your mother. You know the part in his hair, you know every label on every jar, every can, and when you're 2 months old and you look out the window, you know what kind of tree it was and how many leaves it was there. You know the cars that passed in front of you, you know the license tag numbers. You have missed, you think you a know-it-all now? Wait till you're dead. You will be the biggest know-it-all you ever thought about. You have missed nothing. And you're not judging yourself, everybody. You are, as a mature, powerful, mighty spiritual being with dignity, direction, and purpose observing the life you just lived. Bar none, this is going to happen. Then you're going to watch it from a second person point of view. As though we watch our best friends, as we watch our children. You see the dumbest crap you do, the cutest things you say, the smartest things you do. You watch it from a second person point of view as an independent observer of your life. And then you literally become every person that you've ever encountered. And you feel the direct results of your interaction between you and that person. No one escapes. No one. Today, if someone's done you an injustice, and you sit in this room, you can smile, because they're going to feel it. They're going to feel it. They're going to be you. Now, you got it two ways. Anybody that ever hurt you, the only escape is intent. I mean, I took a lot of beatings from my dad, but he was trying to figure out how to keep me from being as crazy as I was. So when I got my dad's beatings, I thought he was going to get it back, okay? His intent was trying to make me pay attention to the damage I was doing to everything else around me. So his intent, I still got the beating, but it didn't hurt him a bit. It's not why you do. It's not what you do, everybody. It's why you do it. So lesson number 4. You better pay attention to your intent in everything you do when you leave me, because I have told you the truth and you will be responsible. And you will be more responsible today than you've ever been before you got here, because I've told you the truth. And your spiritual self knows that. No place to run when you grow up. There's no place to hide. It's just being responsible for having the right to live in this life and to take that responsibility. So after you see your life passing for you in 360-degree panorama, you watch it from a second-person point of view, and then you become every person, and you feel the direct results of your interaction between you and that person. There comes judgment. And what is the system of judgment? Take a breath. If God couldn't come today, and God sent you, in the life you just reviewed, what difference did God make? I'm giving you the gift of life, everybody. If God couldn't come today, God sent you. In the life you just reviewed, what difference did God make? How much love did you put in the world? Who'd you say hello to? Who did you pat on the back when they were in trouble? Who'd you buy a meal? Did you go to a hospice? You been to a nursing home? You helped a child? You mentored? Bought somebody a coat? God couldn't come. In situations in your life, what difference would God make? That is the reality of the purpose of this life. You choose to come to this world, and you're chosen to come to this world. In The Secrets of the Light, in this book, I write 55 years, 27 years in hospice work, 3 near-death experiences, what I have learned. And you learn a lot of stuff at 3 o'clock in the morning when a 90-year-old guy who was a combat veteran who fought from North Africa to Berlin and was captured during the Battle of the Bulge. That's a lot of knowledge you're going to get in a short period of time. So when you get ready for this life review, I tell people all the time, you can listen to my story, but you better get this point. Because all that other stuff over there is details, everybody. Just details. The only thing that you can take from over there and bring back over here is the panoramic life review. Now remember, I had 3 of these puppies. My first near-death experience, I looked to see what I had that was good. Nothing. I got to be all the pain I caused, all the misery I caused, You know why I quit being such a brute? I got tired of hitting my own self in the face. Now think of this. How many people in this room has been hugged by me? Look at this room. Look, everybody. Am I a great hugger or what? I'm the king of hugs. Now let me show you some practical apps. Why do you think I'm hugging you when you woke up to me? Think of the panoramic life review. Who am I responsible? And I do some serious hugging when I get my hands on you too now. Love muffin. Why? So when I die, think of how much problems I got. Oh God, I got 150,000 great hugs coming. Oh, I'm going to have a life review. And I'm going to be hugging me. Kidneys. I mean, you know, people say, Dannion, what did you get out of those near-death experiences? Did you get religion? You can tell that didn't happen. Did you get spiritual? A little bit. But what'd you get? I got smart as hell. How many times you reckon they got to kill you before you catch on? Now, you're talking about the voice of wisdom, kinfolk. Now, and also feel me. I have faced myself. And feel my relationship with the other side. Ha! Think about it. Do you see fear? They love us. They admire us. We are courageous. We are greatness. We were chosen to come here. You were chosen because the divine architect believed that there was absolutely no one more able at a certain point, at a certain time in the evolution of divine consciousness from the ethereal world to this stupid little rock in the middle of the solar system than you to bring it forth. You are the medium by which the spiritual divine in a single act you may do in your life or repetition of acts you may do in your life that affords the spiritual architect, the divine architect, to manifest from there to here. When you realize that there's 1 in 16 billion chances of there being somebody else on this earth exactly like you, and there's only 6,250,000,000 of us here, guess what? You're the one. So get over it. And people say, well, God, I don't know what my mission in life is. I don't know what God wants to do. Keep being you. And stay out of your own way. We just get in our way. How many of you don't get up in the day thinking about something that's good, either coming to you or for you, or when you see it on television or when you get in the car, that you don't think a good thought, a little puppy, a kid walking down the street, going to school for the 3rd grade, and you think back when you went to school in the 3rd grade. You think about somebody at work that's in trouble, and you say, it's going to be okay, God. You walk up. That's big stuff over there. The fact I'm an international best-selling author, that ain't nothing. But the fact that I hug someone. Now let me tell you the next part about this panoramic life review. Why do you think I do hospice work? I'll tell you why. 2 reasons. Number 1, I miss that place. Where 2 or more gather in my name, so shall I be among you. That's what God said. Well, there's one place anybody can go see if that's true. You don't need to have faith in whether that's true. Take your butt down to hospice. Because 2 or more will gather. That's you and that person on the way home. Then that means it's God's job. It means it's God's job then. Well, I can guarantee you in my 27 years, 355 times. I have 18 times. I have seen the room filled with angels. I have seen people lift out of their bodies. Now 5 of those times are suspect. Because I was tired. I'm a really good clinician. I studied this. Because my life review is going to be filled with what I empower you to do. If you go out and you act upon these principles that I lay forth, who is responsible in the life review for it? Me. And I don't like none of you that much. I'm giving you ways to change and alter your life so you look forward to the next world instead of fear death. Think about this. $18,000, two things. I'm going to get to be that person that when I walk in that room and nobody's been to see him in 3 years and they're a decorated combat veteran, and nobody's been to see him, and I come to see him, and I sit with them, and I laugh, and I hold them. God couldn't come today, so God sent me. And I crack jokes and smuggle them in brownies. And I listen to their stories. What is your favorite song? If I can get them to tell me that, they open up and tell me their life story. And they begin having their panoramic life review on this side. And they begin to lift the veil to pass to the other side instead of holding on. Because somebody gave a crap. What I hear, will anybody care? Does my life mean anything in what I've done? I'm going to get to be them. I'm going to get to feel the joy, the wonderment, and that somebody cared when my time comes again. I've been dead, everybody. I was born at night, but it wasn't last night. And the principles that I teach allow me to raise myself from the dead and live. I have no fear of death because I know how to live the life review, and I'm teaching it to you. God couldn't come today. God sent me. What? I'm going to be that person. So look at me. I got $18,000. 355 people. I'm going to get to be the difference God made in their life. I'm going to get to feel the comfort that they got that somebody cared. Now, does that sound like a dummy to you? It's only about gratitude and graciousness. Find something to be thankful for. And every time you're thankful for it, the ripple effect moves through the 94.6%. I do not eat, drink water, do anything without being thankful for it. People who know me, I bless peeing. I'm thankful my kidneys will work. I can get up from the dead with these theories. You don't look for things to be thankful for. You've already set up the 94.6% into play. What am I thankful for? Because once you are thankful for something, you encourage your mental, physical self to do something spiritual in action. Without being thankful, without having something to have gratitude for, none of your mechanisms as a spiritual being will operate. It won't. It's gratitude. That is the most powerful gift the spiritual being has. Then, after I had this panoramic life review, this being took me to a place that were the crystal cities. In my Father's house there are many mansions. If this were not so, why would I tell you? Something Jesus said. Well, guess what? That's true. I saw these crystal cities, these places that we come from. We don't all come from one big blob. We come from levels of consciousness with skills and diversity. You know, like they have the orders of angels. There's 178 orders of angels. Well, we all come from different places, and we come together in groups to come to the earth. Now, one other thing I want to tell you about being at the bedside, before I get into the prophecy, which I'm going to wait to the last 10 minutes. None of y'all will leave. When I'm at the bedside of a person getting ready to leave this world, I get close to them. And I look into their eyes, let them feel that they're safe. And I pat them on the shoulder. And I get close and I look in their eyes and I say, "Hey, you tell them I'm doing a good job when you get over I don't know about you, but I need to stay today." Now, I in the world, where's the best opportunity to tell God good job than at the bedside of somebody on the way. Hey! Wake up! It works. Because they'll come back. I got more dead friends than I have living friends. And they come to see me all the time because I help them go there. And in the compassion and action training, I can guarantee that veteran or that person that one of us will be there when you start across the veil. You don't have to worry about it if one of my people went there. If one of my people were there, that light's lit. And 1 week sent before, we'll be there. No matter what. And I can promise them that. Let me tell you something else about compassion and action training. Our motto is that no one need die alone. So when you finish our training, your little weekend, you get your piece of paper. You know what you just did? You guarantee you won't be alone. That piece of paper guarantees you can call me. I don't want your furniture, your jewelry. You don't have to guilt me. One of us will be there. And the last thing you do on this earth is teach us to be better at doing what we set out to do to start with. Now, I don't know how many religions give you that kind of comfort. But I got a little organization. 6,000 of us will never be alone. And we will be with someone who took the same training, who we can teach to be better, who in turn will teach others. I don't know what kind of gift you want to leave the world, but the truth is not a bad thing. And an identity of a spiritual blessing that you left on this earth is training one of us to be better. And we in turn turn it in, we go to the website, we get stories all the time because we chat, we talk among ourselves. We're setting up this new chat room. Well, because at 3 o'clock in the morning when you leave somebody, what are you going to do? Who are you going to call? Well, you can get on the site, and it might be me, it could be Keith, it could be any one of us that's there to listen. God couldn't come today. God sent me. What difference did it make? It's called the Twilight Brigade. Trained, disciplined warriors. Those in the night who are not afraid of the darkness. Because there's a life after death. I created that puppy. I don't play. I asked, you know, how many people, this lady said, you think about how much you got invested in this today. Might have 20 bucks. I got about 700 grand invested in this. You know, open heart surgery ain't cheap. Brain surgery, I can tell when I'm having a near-death experience. I've almost finished paying for the last one. What are they gonna do? Kill me? Ah! I've been over there 3 times, ain't been to hell yet. Think about it. They missed their chance on the kid. So, I went to these crystal cities, and when I came into this crystal city, everybody, because I gotta move fast now, I came into this crystal city, and all of a sudden, my heart opened, and these 13 beings of light appeared. Words like honor, greatness, integrity, spiritual unfoldment, honor, all these words of greatness emanated. And each of these beings, and then a 13th being appeared. And I didn't know exactly what the deal was. And then the energy of each being began to open. And all of a sudden I could just see one being because it emanated. And then this energy came and this box came like this. You know, it came and it opened like this, like a television screen. You know, I always thought maybe I died and went to the Radio Shack. And I saw these events that began to be the future. I didn't know it was the future, everybody. But I saw it, and then I became a part of it. Those that have followed Dannion Brinkley for the last 30 years realized that this was the future. And sometimes I missed the date, but I didn't miss the event. And if you read where I said the world was going to be in 2004, in Saved by the Light, and you watch CNN, the probable possibilities of the world we live in is exactly the way they said it was going to be. So when people used to say, well, we believe it was brain deprivation or a temporal lobe seizure or apoplectic shock or, you know, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, wherever it was, I saw the future. So if I was dead or I was having a brain aneurysm or whatever it was, I still saw these events. And then I came back. Now, if you want to have a problem, the last time I saw my body, it looked a little stiff. I come aware in a hospital ward, not only looking for that stupid thing, but trying to figure out how you get back in it. What do you think? They got the directions on the heel? How do you get back in a stiff body? How many here know? Well, I found it. It had a sheet over it, had a toe tag on, and they were waiting to push me into the elevator. And the doors open, and these guys with these white gowns on with blood on them and all that stuff, well, I'd seen enough Quincy's to know what was coming next. And the next thing I know, I'm in that body. And it hurts, and it's burning, and I'm fighting for consciousness. And I wasn't breathing. It's interesting to be in a body not breathing. That's a pity. And then when that guy put his hand on the rail, I said, whoo, and air came into my lungs. And I blew on the sheet. What would you have done? And I was back. And I began to look at this. I met Raymond. I ventured through this. I have been on the forefront of the near-death experience for 30 years. I have watched it evolve as consciousness from science to mythology to phenomena to a natural aspect taught in medical schools and nursing schools of the parameters of this phenomenon and experience because we're being resuscitated. It is not a phenomena, it's a real event. Not everybody has a near-death experience that thinks it's a near-death experience. Sometimes it's a temporal lobe seizure, sometimes it's a frontal lobe seizure, sometimes it's oxygen brain deprivation, sometimes it's the chemistry. I mean, you can't just lump it all together, but it happens. Think about it. You are divine and forever. You choose to come and you're chosen to come. Now let me tell you why you choose to come. You choose to come here as a force of one. Now this is it. This is all in the sequence, everybody. You choose to come as a force of one. This is why you came here. You choose to come as a force of one in order to make changes for the betterment of humanity. How many of you get up every day planning to make the world a worse place to live? Nobody. You choose to come because you as by yourself can make a difference for the betterment of humanity. And that's how you came here. Knowing that we are capable of making a real difference. Each of us has designed our life with as many obstacles and as challenges as we could create, along with a variety of options and possibilities to overcome the same challenges. So, you want to know how your life got so screwed up? You did. Why? When you're a great, powerful, mighty spiritual being with dignity, direction, and purpose, you're a little biggity. And what you think with your biggity self is there ain't nothing you can create that you can't figure out how to get out of. So when you look at your life, you screwed it all up because you think you can figure out how to get out of it. The worst part about that is you can't. You'll never become a great sea captain sailing a calm sea. Now, most of us chose to sail our ships in the South China Sea during a typhoon or in the North Atlantic during the winter, where you got those 125-footers breaking over the back. But be proud of that. That is courage, and greatness, and wonderment. And you're eternal. And you're inspiring other people through your adversity. And you're giving them courage. Don't whine. Deal with it. Don't look for pity. Look to inspire. Learn its lesson and get past it. Because you're doing nothing but slowing down your own evolution and your ability to be a second-person inspiration. Look how many people I've inspired to be hospice volunteers. More than 30,000. Look how many people come under this banner through what I've been through. I took what I've been through. I took these lemons and I made lemonade. Because I know better. Because I have seen the light. Been in the light. Dwell with the light. And we've gotten to be pretty good friends. So let's kick on to the next one. I've cruised along about 14 years. And it's like doing 1989. And everything's going along pretty good. They had this little thing called the Hong Kong flu. Everybody was going to the hospital. I thought I had the Hong Kong flu. So I had to sit down. Tell me what to do. Microphone. I'm over here. I thought I had the Hong Kong flu. So I lay in the bed for about 3 days, and finally I better go to the doctor. So I go to the doctor. I get over there. There's 1,000 people in there. They all have the same symptoms. So I get to the hospital, go in the emergency room, and I wrote my first book. Now, how many of you have been to the hospital without insurance? You will write your first book. And they said, well, Daniel, why don't you have insurance? I said, well, when you file for get insurance, and you list preconditions, and one of them is being dead, it's kind of hard to get some insurance, you know what I mean? I thought I was a good risk. I'm still here. So I fill it out, I go in the back room, and you can see by my charming personality, you can see how cool I am, you know. So I said, I'm sitting there, leaning against the wall going, and here comes Doogie Howser. And this is little kid, he looked like he's about 14 years old. Got his little glasses on. He's a little intern, you know, doing his little duty. And I'm looking at this little freak. And he says, well, Mr. Brinkley, let me check it. And he thinks I got, the Hong Kong flu. You know, he's sweating. And he checks me, puts his little stethoscope on me. Then he takes my pulse. His little eyes get about big as saucers. And he said, I'll be right back. And he takes off. He comes back. And behind him comes this crowd in this little green outfit. He got a little green hat on, little green feeties, little green, and they got this cart they pushing. And this guy's putting this gel on these pads. And he comes, he said, Mr. Brinkley? I said, yeah. I'm still standing up too now. Because I know if I sit down, I wouldn't go stand back up. He said, Mr. Brinkley? He said, do you want me to tell you the truth? True story. I said, fool, I just paid $275 to come back here. Don't you think I could get somebody to lie to me cheaper than that? Yeah, won't you tell me the truth? He said, you got a touch of pneumonia in your right lung. He said, but you're in heart failure. You'll be dead in 45 minutes. I said, 45 minutes? Let's synchronize our watches. Wow, I'm out of here. He said, are you all right? I said, yeah, I'm all right. And I keel over. I wake up 2 days later. I come to, and this guy's shaving the hair off the top of my toe. Thank you, sir. You know, they shave the hair off a lot of stuff for open heart surgery. I had to kind of scan the perimeter, you know what I mean? And I said, where's my watch? What time is it? Where's that lying doctor? And I said, what do you do? He said, I'm prepping you for open heart surgery. I said, you gotta be crazy. I ain't having no open heart surgery. Go get me that doctor. But let me tell you what I did learn from that orderly. I learned to appreciate women more than I've ever appreciated a woman in my life. Why? Bikini lines. I don't know how in the world you guys stand it and how you get away with us not catching you scratching. When all that hair started to grow back, I didn't wear any underwear. I don't know how in the world y'all do it. But let me get back to my story. But let you know you are appreciated. And I didn't know how much I was thankful to you for it. So, my dad, they come in this room. This is true stories, everybody. It's a true story. These guys come in the room, these doctors. My dad, he comes in, and they said, Mr. Brinkley, you've gotten a staph infection. And it's eaten, you know, from the lightning, you've damaged the left side of your heart. You've got about 55 or 60% movement in the lower left muscles. He said, but you've gotten staph infection, and it has eaten the center of your heart, and you're drowning in your own blood. And he said, you won't make it through today if we don't do the surgery. I said, you done told me that one time. Where's the guy that had the 45 minutes? And they said, now here's what we're going to do. We're going to go do open heart surgery. And he said, if you live, we're going to cut this muscle out of your back of your chest, about the back of your spine. We're going to wrap it around your heart and put a pacemaker in, and you'll only lose 30 to 40% of the movement of your left side. And they were proud of themselves. I looked at my dad. I said, well, Pop, at least I know what doctors were before they became doctors. They was crack addicts. These son of a bitches are crazy. And they got mad because I wasn't taking my death near as serious as they thought I should take it. I told them, you boys, you better get out of here. And I said, them old big hands you got with the guy got a set of hands on him look like Andre the Giant. I said, you gonna stick them in my chest? My dad's standing there, you know, he's already been through this once. He said, boy, this sounds like one of them Deja things. I never cut him. He said, what do you think we ought to do? I said, Dad, I can tell you what I want to do. I want to be cremated. And I want you to take my ashes and I want you to mix it with some hash and I want everybody to smoke me out like everybody. You talking about ascending into heaven better than a wake. We don't see you, Dan. Did you see it? Dannion's friend busted, smoking him at his funeral. He didn't think it was funny. So I had the open heart surgery. I lifted out of my body. I watched the surgery. I could describe the conversations that they had. When I lifted out of my body, I saw this big silver thing. Thought it was a UFO. And I looked around and saw it was just a light. I saw this nurse painting this brown stuff on my chest. Then I heard this sound. This fool hooked this buzzsaw and sawed my chest open. Whoa! You know what I thought? Yes! Ain't no way I'm gonna live through this! Now you're talking! And it's see him and start turning his handles and my chest spread open and I looked in there. You know your heart's not shaped like that. I mean, the little stupid thing's only about that big and it sits right here. It pumps. And you know you're empty inside. You got a few little lungs, but there's a lot of empty space in there. I mean, it's amazing how real you think you are till they cut you open. And they cut me from here to here. And I'm looking at that. And then this chimes turn. And then this tone. And away I go again. I came to this space. I knew it well. It's home. You'll know that space and place more than you've ever known any place on this earth. And people say, and I'll do this quick because I know you want to finish on time. I want to tell you what it's like to lift out of your body. I want to give you an example of what you've been taught to be so afraid of. Take a breath. Imagine that you're 6 years old. And it's Christmas. And you're going to grandmother's. And she's rich. And you're her favorite child. She lives in Anaheim. And her last name is Disney. And you come to the stoplight. When you know that stoplight goes from red to green, you turn left, you turn right, and you pull up, and there's Grandmama and Mickey waiting up. Now, how scared of that can you be? How frightened can you be of that? And you have been taught to be terrified. Just get over it. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't scary. And if it is scary, somebody's coming. No one goes alone if you're frightened or the dogma has become so empowering that you are so terrified. Stop it. Stop it. It's a part of life, and it's one of the nicest parts of life. A job well done. A freedom to explore and to go home, to hang out with your friends, to be in a place that you created. And every thought and hope and dream you have creates it and makes it a better place. The same people you are now. Be you. It's kindness. It's genteel wonderment. It's love. It's inspiring, hopeful. Believeth in all things, trusteth in all things, and above all things abide in faith, hope, and in love. And of all things love. I mean, I know it's a worn out cliche, but it's the truth. And as I came to this second panoramic life review, I met the being of light, but I already knew who that was. Hi, Dad. You're looking a little better than the last time I saw you, or maybe I just see you a little better. And you emerge. Now, there were guardians that were there, and there were beings of light in angelic forms, but I wasn't interested in them. I wasn't impressed by a bunch of angels. Think about angels. An angel comes down here, tells you the dog's in the well, scares the crap out of you, and then disappears. Who are you going to tell when you saw an angel? You know, when you talk to God, it's called prayer. When God talks to you, it's called schizophrenia. I don't need any angels. I'd rather have you. A being like me on a mission. You teach best what you most need to learn. You teach best what you most need to learn. Mine is patience and kindness. I can get up from the dead, and I've been really successful in my life. You know, I've been successful. I'm a multi-million seller, successful movies and television shows. But I swear to God, I have never been able to be nice all day, one day. Now, I try hard as I can to be good all day, and it just doesn't happen. Let me tell you about a panoramic life review. I saw the first life, and it was just as rotten as the first time I saw it. But I got a chance to see what hospice has done. I'm lucky, everybody. I've had 2 of these. By then, I've had 3. I have seen how to build upon who I am as a spiritual being. And I've seen 3 life reviews. You see the whole thing again. You don't just see where you are when you left off the last time. You go through the whole thing, because it's the collective life of a single experience. That's just a continuation. One of the coolest things I got a chance to see and watch. I was in New York going to do a program. If I'm in a city, unless I'm so tired I can't go, I go do Meals on Wheels, or I make rounds at the hospice unit, or I go visit people in VAs, because I'm just not going to sit in that room and not go out and be what I say I am. I'm not going to do it. Because I'm the only one who has to really live with me, and I'm the only one that's going to be there when I have the life review. Nobody else is going to be there. So you can lie to yourself all you want. Won't change a thing. Get over it. So I was going down to Skid Row, where bums are, quote unquote. But I always get me $21 bills, and I go and tell them to tell me a story. You know, and if it's a good enough story, you can get between $1 and $20. And you hear some of the wildest stuff in the world with a wino, we're trying to get a $20 off of you. You'd be lying, you know. But the fact that somebody sat there and cared. I looked down the street corner. There was 5 women with shopping carts. And this gang of 6 guys, and they're all backed up, huddled together, holding their shopping carts. And these guys were clicking at them and trying to turn their carts over and all this stuff. Well, I picked me up a little 2x4 about like this, and I eased down the alley. And I worked that crowd over good. Because when you're not afraid, and they think that you're going to frighten you, you have the upper edge. And I beat them good. I beat them really good. And I thought about it, you know, I thought about it when I got done with them. 2 of them got away, but 4 of them I hurt pretty bad. I thought about it in my panoramic life review, but it was my intent. We valet parked those shopping carts, and I took those ladies into a Chinese restaurant, and they're homeless. And I took turns covering for them so they could go in the bathroom and wash and shower and eat, and we sat at the buffet and we stayed there for 5 hours. And I was enjoying it because I was watching girls talk, you know, and they were safe, you know, and they'd been living on the street for years, and the children threw them out, and everybody had a story. And they were putting chicken wings and everything they could figure out. I never knew how cool it was until the life review. And I got to be them, looking in the mirror in the bathroom, washing their hair, cleaning up, and being able to see and feel that joy. Now, I've done it 1,000 times since then, but it'll never have the impact as it did the first time, no matter what, because I am calculating it now instead of just doing it from my heart. You don't know what I know. You can listen to me, but you don't know it. So you still will be doing it from your heart. And that's the life you're going to review. And it's worth every moment you go through. Because that's the greatness of who you are. And I traveled to where the crystal cities were again. I went to this place to understand that color and healing medicine, light therapies, all the things I write about in that Peace in the Light. I mean, you can buy those books and read all of that. It was the future of science and medicine. What used to be the new generation, I mean the new age phenomena, is now the now age. It was 40 years ago, it was the new age, everybody. It's the now age. What I wrote about 10 years ago is now being studied and researched all over the world. And it was the future. I saw it and I wrote it down as I saw it, and I wrote it down 10 years before it happened. And now it's happened. We are becoming more spiritually advanced. There is a current of energy and a wave that's moving through the universe. As the universe is unfolding, we are unfolding. We are growing and expanding. And there will be a conscious shift of awareness about who we are and where we came from and our personal identity that will come about in the next 5 to 7 years. You're not going to have to wait anymore in your lifetime. You're going to understand who you physically and mentally are. Now, you already better know who you spiritually are. But how you got to occupy this earth is going to be a revelatory experience when you begin to understand what created birth and whether the genetic engineering stories of who we are and some of that Atlantean and Zechariah Sitchin stuff and the Anunnaki and the Planet X and all that stuff, you will know the truth of it. So, came back again. I kept working, I kept doing, I kept unfolding what they sent me back to do. And I got on an airplane to fly home in 1997. When I got on that airplane, I felt something burst in my head. And the pain was so severe. If you're at 35,000 feet in a pressurized cabin, you ain't got no idea what pain is. When you blow a subdural hematoma and that blood starts pumping out of your head and pushing your brain against your skull. And before it was over, I blew 2 more. I got home and I got no idea. I don't even understand how I was conscious on that second flight. I was in such pain. I got home, and when I got home, I don't even know how I got there. I woke up on the daybed in the living room. My arm was black and blue, and all of my side was black and blue, and blood was coming out of my ear. My dad walked in, and I stood up, and when he stood up, when I stood up, I hit the floor. This friend of mine, Mel, came over, and my dad said, get him to the hospital. I got to the hospital, and I had subdural hematomas. My brain had burst, and I was pouring blood because I had to take Coumadin because of open heart surgery. And I was bleeding so fast, it was crushing my brain. And I was in the hospital, and they were trying. I had never known that kind of pain, everybody. I had never known that kind of pain. And these doctors, now remember, I got struck by lightning on September the 17th at 7:05 p.m., 1975 on a Wednesday afternoon during a thunderstorm, and I got hit here. That was the first near-death experience. I'm in the hospital. I'm there 20 days. 14 days. And the doctor walked into the room, and he said, Dannion, I got to go in Wednesday. He said, you won't live till Wednesday afternoon. And this was Monday. And he said, you won't live. And he said, if I don't do this surgery, you'll be dead by 7 o'clock. Wednesday was September the 17th. I was scheduled for brain surgery on September the 17th at 7:05 a.m., 1997 on a Wednesday morning during a thunderstorm, and they drilled the first hole in. Now, ain't God funny? Now, I believe in coincidence. I've never seen one. But you think about that. I had no control over the lightning strike, and this doctor did not know my story. But he said if I didn't have that surgery on Wednesday morning, I'd be dead by 7 o'clock. And he scheduled the surgery for September the 17th at 7:05 a.m. on a Wednesday morning during a thunderstorm. Now, God needed to keep you busy with that one. I went into brain surgery. They gave me an 8% chance of surviving. because they were gonna have to do open heart surgery and brain surgery at the same time. So if a doctor tells you you got an 8% chance of surviving, what's he really telling you? Dead. Where's the doc at? He had to run off, but let's ask him. I went in for brain surgery. When I went into brain surgery, they rolled me over on my side, and they did the anesthesia. And the very moment it went black, I'm standing at the foot of the surgery table. And I'm standing there looking at my feet. They all talking, but I'm fixated, got this feet fetish now. I'm studying my feet. And I look up, and the doctor's got this contraction, you know, like a drill. He's got this contraction, and he's shaving my head. But they only shave from here over. And I said, now what kind of fool is this? I mean, I got this much hair, and this is shaved. And they do it because women cannot stand to have their head shaved. I didn't know it at the time, but I thought about what I was going to look like in the coffin. Spiritual beings got with vanity too, you know? So they do this brain surgery. They drill this hole. I'm out of my body. I'm in the blue-gray place. But I wasn't by myself, everybody. This is why I'm here today. I never knew a lot about ghosts and poltergeist and purgatory and Tasman and Hunan. But these places that we call the in-between worlds, I understand about dimensions because I have seen so many. And I live and see them today. You know, I see dead people, but I see living beings and creatures in other dimensions. Just depends on what I ate. It has a lot to do with the chemistry. If I have enough electrolytes in my system, if I have my trace minerals, a lot to do with magnesium and niacin. You want to become empathic, make sure you have enough magnesium, take your trace minerals, keep 40,000 volts of electrolyte. That means drink Gatorade or something that's like that. Your body's an electrical chemical machine. If you tune it and you keep it sharp, it will open you and afford you consciousness awakening that you can't even imagine. You just have to have had your mind open and then get ready. But what I realized is I was in the blue-gray place again, everybody. But for the first 2 times, I thought I was the only one there. I realized that there is a blue-gray place, that the dimensions are of where people can get trapped. Catholics call it purgatory. The Hindus call it talab. Every major religion has this place. I just never believed it existed. In '97 I saw it. And as I saw it, I saw beings trapped. Mostly veterans who never got saved, who were tortured, who were blown up, who were never rescued, who couldn't accept the fact that we would leave them in hospital beds, that we would leave them on battlefields, that we would leave them. I saw groups of people, hateful, vengeful people, reliving the same thing, refusing to let go because they had hatred, animosity. How many children you think that were abused and raped by a priest is going down that tunnel to the light? A million. They ain't no way. They're going to stay until someone can come and get them and take them. The worst one, for me, were women. Women who, in the name of love, gave up a certain amount of their own self-respect and dignity. And what would they put up with from a bunch of asshole men, parents and mothers and fathers, abused them. And that they were beings and saw who they were as spiritual beings. And in the course of that, they could not allow themselves to go down that tunnel. Let me tell you something. With the failure of governments, religions, and institutions, these places are getting clogged up, everybody. And a lot of things that are happening in this world today, and I'll put it in this simple framework. The Catholic Church, there's been a 700% increase in exorcisms. Now, just think about it in not reality, but in a concept. The largest abuse, the largest growth rate in abuse, 150% since 1996. You know what the category is? Women, 81 to 95. 150% increase. Child abuse, murder. Look at what's happening. These places are becoming clogged. And I got a feeling that energy's feeding back into this reality. Look at where we are. You look at the way women are being treated in the Islamic countries. And I was in the recovery room for 41 hours. I stayed in this place. And I wandered through that realm for 41 hours. Then I moved down the tunnel. I didn't pay any attention to my panoramic life review. I was very proud of the distance I traveled. But I wasn't even caring about heaven. For the first time, I wanted to get back. Because I had something to tell you that we can do something about. Because if it gets clogged up, everybody, and it may be your children or your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren, and it wouldn't be something they did. It was something that we didn't establish as a spiritual context, not a religious. You can't trust a government, you can't trust an institution, and you can't trust a religion. You can only trust your own heart to teach goodness and graciousness and appreciation and gratitude. And I listen to rap music. And I look at the psychology. I have 5 girls and 1 boy. I married a woman with 6 children. You think a near-death experience scares me? We do not have time to sit around and pontificate or theorize about whether there's a life after death. We have to actively meet, greet, converse, organize, and become a movement to establish there's a life after death by promoting the ideals of righteousness and fairness and justice and graciousness and appreciative, or we will be the ones responsible. The baby boomers and the generation in front of me. We are the largest expansion of growth in Western history. There's 80 million of us in America. There's almost 190 million of us worldwide in the Western countries, born just before the war and just after it. It's our world. We are responsible. And we are approaching immortality in one concept, but realizing immortality. Who are we going to blame? Who? There is no. We have the money. We have the ability. We're the most. If we don't do it, the world in 7 years from now won't be a world you recognize. It is we that came after the war and just before the war who are responsible for taking up the cause of divinity. Because this place is going to fill up. I heard a biblical story called When the Well of Souls is Emptied Out. Then the 7 years of the tribulation will be upon us. Well, guess what? Babylon, Baghdad, Mesopotamia, Fertile Crescent, birth of civilization. That's all the same place, everybody. We are where we started 10,000 years ago as a civilization. Iraq is the Fertile Crescent, the Tigris and the Euphrates. That's where Genesis is. That's where we started. The Garden of Eden, the city of Ur. And I don't know about you, but if you read the book of Revelations, it says a 200 million man army is going to cross the riverbed of the Tigris. Now, where are you going to get a 200 million man yellow army at, everybody? And guess what's in Iraq? The second largest oil reserve in the world. And China just signed a deal with Kazakhstan. And they are the ones driving the oil prices. They will burn per month more oil than they burned in 100 years. We're there. What are we going to do? We're going to do just what we did today. We gathered because we believe there's a life after death. We gathered because we like to be around like-minded people. We're not a religion. We are a society. Look up the word society in your dictionary and be a part of a society, because there is a life after death, and it's coming. The value we place upon who we are in the next 7 years is about to be placed in a transition from culture to culture. What do? We do what we do. Take a breath. Come on, don't be afraid. Because I want to read in closing. In the 7 truths in this book, I swear to you, this book will get you through it. It's got the 4-fold path to power, and it's got the 7 truths. Things that you can bet your everyday life on. And you can find no matter what's going on in your life, it will match one of these truths. I think the most important truth is truth number 5. Let me read it to you. We choose to be alive at this time, at this place, and at this point in history, because never before have we had such a glorious opportunity to display our individual power and presence. And think of this. When someone gives you a gift, it's called a present. The present we have been given today is now. This is the exact moment to truly know that we can make a difference. Now, that's a truth. You can't walk away from me. If you read Saved by the Light, At Peace in the Light, and The Secrets of the Light, you cut on CNN. You had. And I'm still here. Just like you. I don't put my head down. I hold my head up high. Because I can make a difference. And I came here believing that. I keep coming back. But I came back this last time for the first time because I wanted to. Because I believe in us. I see the pride and the dignity and the glory that is we as spiritual beings. And we have no time but now. And we'll win. We have never been defeated. Those who exist at this place, at this time, at this point in history, bunch of unemployed dragon slayers. We have never been defeated. Now either rise up or we lay down. But we do one or the other. Now apply it. How many in this room have someone who you know or who they know that is in transition, that is dying this day? Every one of us. If you're 37 years or older, you got somebody dying. And if you're my age, you got two. Well, what are we going to do? We will terrify them. The more hospice-trained volunteers that we present and produce, the more terrifying as a force we become. We who sit on the front line of facing death and helping those whom we love and who loved us face death are the heavenly host. We stand on the precipice of the difference that God makes. We stand and we are feared because we are not so afraid as not to stand up and protect the children and the elderly. Now, don't you leave me without taking up a cause that deals with the first breath or the last breath. Because the only two that matter is what you breathe in when you come here. You pull a breath in. And the last thing you do is you let that breath out. And what you've done in between will be measured in your life if God couldn't come today and God sent us. And look what we did today. We're in a hospital, signing our names to be opening ourselves to the possibility of taking a training to help people deal with death. Those are heroes. Put your name on the list. Don't be afraid and don't hide. Because it's going to be somebody you love who needs you. And it's going to be somebody you love who you need. And the sooner you get started, the more powerful you become. And the more powerful you become, and the more you're around death, the less you'll fear it, and the more you will inspire people. And that will change